TV. Now, you have more than a voice.
Do you want your voice to be heard? Do you know that you matter in the scheme of things? The People's Voice, the show where ordinary citizens take center stage as we discuss the biggest stories that affect you and I. With you in mind, we facilitate lively discussions, debates, and interviews on the topics that matter most to you and I. From social justice to economic empowerment, education to healthcare, governance, and more. Tackling tough topics and amplifying your voice. Join the conversation and make your voice count. The People's Voice. Make your voice count.
Behind every broken desk lies a broken promise. Education shapes the nations. But who is asking the right questions? Introducing Edu Dialogue, the show that goes beyond the surface, exposes the cracks, the corruption, and the silence in Nigeria's education system. Edu Dialogue, Saturdays, 3 p.m., only on VOP TV. We break the biggest stories, from missing funds to policy failures. We ask the tough questions and demand real answers. Edu Dialogue, this Saturday, 3 p.m. on Voice of the People Television.
In a world where truth is the ultimate power and opinions scream the loudest, it's time to wade through the noise.
Hunger no get tribe! Hunger no get religion!
And scan the human interest and trending topics that matter. Stay tuned to The Issues, your plug to the stories making the buzz, from politics to science and technology, social justice, and more. Let's tackle the tough questions and expose the truth. The Issues, on Voice of the People Television, Mondays to Fridays, 8 to 9 p.m. The Issues. Don't just react, understand. The red carpets, awards, the razzmatazz, music, fashion, interviews, and more. Spotlight on Voice of the People Television. Let's feed you with all the juicy stories in the global entertainment space, bringing you the glitz and glamour as it is hot. Stay tuned to Spotlight, 1 p.m. Monday to Friday. Spotlight on VOP TV. Entertainment like never before. Join us as we drive into the world of politics through insightful interviews with prominent political figures, both serving and former governors, ministers, senators, legislators, party chieftains, activists, and analysts. Get first-hand information into the decision-making processes that affect our daily lives. Highly engaging one-hour program that brings political discourse into focus.
I am Chukwuma Okoro.
Political Lens, Monday through Friday, 6 to 7 p.m. Join us.
This is Health Check, your weekly guide to better living, smarter choices, and trusted answers. From everyday wellness to urgent health issues, we've got you covered. Health Check, only on Voice of the People Television, where your health has a voice.
Idumota Market is a market located on Lagos Island, a suburb and local government area of Lagos State. It is one of the oldest and arguably one of the largest markets in West Africa, with thousands of lock-up shops occupying various buildings in the market. The market, along with Alaba International Market, are major distribution hubs for home video.
Welcome, guys. The show is Hashtags right here on VOP TV. Now, this is where we're going to tell you all things topical and all things trending. And I can tell you it's where you also get follow-ups to previous hashtags. So it is holistic because we try to go the whole 9 yards. And not to preach a sermon, my name is Vivian Oguche, and of course, I'm not flying solo. I got my co-anchor here.
Good evening, guys. I'm Ikechukwu Agwago. And again, like Vivian said, it is exactly where you get the answer to the question, what's trending. And today is not going to be different. A lot is going to be happening right here on this particular episode of the show. So sit tight as Vivian take us on the ride.
All right, and if this is your first time, accept a very warm welcome from us. So netizens are all about Dangote and Farouk. Now, in case you've not been following it, or if you've been following it and you want to know, the latest regarding this particular matter, this is it. So we are beginning with Nigeria's oil and gas industry. Just yesterday, we had the bummer that the former, gosh, this life. So we now refer to him as a former DPR CEO. DPR being the midstream sector when it comes to Nigeria's oil and gas industry. I'm talking about Ahmed Farouk. Now, he resigned on the heels of allegations that Dangote, Nigerian billionaire businessman, who happens to be one of the richest men in Africa and in the world, brought up allegations that Mr. Farouk was living above his means, and he got credentials to actually solidify a case against Mr. Farouk. Now, he took the case to the ICPC. The ICPC, talking about the anti-graft agency, accepted that they had received the allegations or the documents, the charges Dangote had brought against Farouk, and that they were going to investigate Farouk. And all of a sudden, we heard that after a short visit to the presidency, Farouk resigned. Netizens are not letting this bone go, I can tell you that. So if you are wondering how it began, take a listen to this gist as Farouk publicly criticized Dangote shortly before his refinery came on board, saying that they were producing substandard products. What? Take a listen, guys.
Supply of petroleum products nationwide, and the claims by some media houses that they were trying to scuttle Dangote refinery. That is not so. Dangote refinery is still in the pre-commissioning stage. It has not been licensed yet. We haven't licensed them yet. They are still in pre-commissioning. I think they're about 45% completion rather. So we cannot rely heavily on one refinery to feed the nation, because the Dangote is requesting that we should suspend or stop all importation of petroleum products, especially AGO and jet kero, and direct all marketers to the refinery. That is not good for the nation in terms of energy security, and that is not good for markets because of monopoly. So in terms of quality, currently the AGO quality in terms of sulfur is the lowest as far as West African requirement of 50 ppm. Dangote refinery, as well as some modular refineries like Walter Smith refinery, Arada refinery, they're producing between 650 to 1,200 ppm. So in terms of quality, their quality is much, much inferior to the imported quality.
Now, did you catch that Dangote refinery's product was substandard? Ikechukwu, that was where the war began. In fact, in a short while, we're going to go back to X, where you see a netizen break it down from the beginning to the end. But this is what led to, the fight.
Absolutely. Let's get to see what netizens say.
All right, we'll go back to X now so we see how netizens are reacting to this one. Ishak Smiler says, Dangote is fighting because they want to destroy his investment. He has fought many battles on this refining business. 1, Obasanjo sold the Port Harcourt refinery to him. NNPC staff protested. 2, Yar'Adua took back the refinery from him. Did you know that? I mean, so this goes a ways back into, the history of the country when it comes to oil and gas. And then Smiler goes on to say, 3, Dangote spent $20 billion of his own money to build a brand new refinery. 4, then this same NMD SRA issued a statement that Dangote's refined products were substandard. This was later proven to be false. Then NNPC refused to supply him crude oil. He turned to the USA to source his crude oil and continues to import from them till this day. Then PBAT ordered NNPC to start supplying him crude oil and to accept Naira payment. NNPC was unhappy. PBAT being President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. There's a continuation of this one. Let's go and take a look at them. Thank you. 7. Suddenly, Nupeng and Pegasin ganged up, claiming Dangote is a monopolist because he is refusing them the old practice of toll collection of 5 million Naira per truck while loading products. That's a mind-boggling sum, if you ask me. And then 8, Dangote called their bluff and decided to buy his own CNG tankers, 2,000 of them. 9, Nupeng and Pengasin then declared a strike action demanding that Dangote staff must be allowed to join their union. 10, smelling a rat, Dangote asked all staff to indicate if they wanted to join Pengasin. 800 staff signed. Dangote sacked them all, claiming 22 incidents of sabotage detected in the refinery, including unexpected fire incidents. 11, Nupeng and Pengasin again went on strike. 12, NAS intervened and begged Dangote to rehire the 800 staff. Dangote took the staff back, but sent them to cement factories far away from his $20 billion refinery. There's a concluding part to this. Let's take a look at it. Thank you. And it says, 13, today, Dangote's refinery is working, producing PMS, diesel, aviation fluid, fertilizers, etc. He is exporting to the USA, Asia, and other African countries, and in Forex. 14, yet Ahmed Farouk insists on spending our inadequate Forex earnings to import PMS in order to keep refineries in Europe in business. Now we know why this is so. Obviously, he is receiving kickbacks. He would rather do that than support a local investment. If this is not economic sabotage, what is it? 15, clearly Dangote and Boa, who are locked in a healthy competition, are contributing to our economic renaissance. This is big deal, Ikechukwu. But 14, though, let's take it with a pinch of salt. We don't know if Mr. Farouk is receiving any kickbacks or if he was receiving any kickbacks. But what do you make of all of this? There are more, but I want us to break this down, into groups because there are lots of reactions.
So that 14 actually is where I'll start. Because I think it was Dangote who was actually, okay, Dangote's allegation, Dangote's allegation about, the school fees was actually paying a sum of around $5 million and
per child.
Yeah, per child. And
in a secondary school abroad.
So looking at, his income and then looking at, disparity, how, did he get that money to do that? There's this, saying that if it smells like rats, looks like a rat, sounds like a rat, it's most likely be a rat. Because, how is he going to explain, all of this money? Well,
he has come out to say that he's not guilty, that his sons are
guilty. Yes, of course, that's where the investigation will start. And of course, possibly there's going to be a trial to actually prove that he's actually innocent of the allegation and all of that. But, if you look at all of this, right, when Dangote actually started his refinery, there are a lot of battles, like, this guy actually highlighted. And the big question at the point was that, the oil marketers are actually, the ones fighting against.
That it was like a gang up.
For me, right, I'm not against them fighting against Dangote because obviously the size of Dangote means monopoly, and I'm totally against monopoly. But here's the thing, right? Even if you want to fight against someone, right, it's going to be a competition. Open up the market, all marketers should do their thing, and you also do your thing. Now,
which is what Larry Alayinka said. You're going to see that one in the show.
Yeah,
yeah. Okay, so if you think this is a monopoly, go build your own refinery.
That's what I'm saying.
And Dangote actually said it too.
Absolutely, that's what I'm saying. I'm not against Dangote doing his own business, right? If you think Dangote's size is intimidating, find a way to actually, meet other persons to ensure that this battle is healthy. Even in the US, monopoly is not encouraged because they know it's actually very dangerous for business. I think some couple of months ago, I was talking about men who beat America, and I talk about, Jerry Rockefeller, the man who actually was like the Dangote of their time there. He actually owned oil and gas. 1% of Americans' total GDP at the point. Now, one of the things Roosevelt, the president, did at the point, because he was so big and his presence was actually a threat to governance at the point. So they actually broke up his company, Standard Oil, into ExxonMobil and Chevron that you know today. The same Standard Oil. So governments all over the world look at monopoly. They know that if you have this huge size, you have every power to actually even bring in, buy your own presidency if this person is actually not doing what is good for you. But so that's where it's dangerous. But again, it's not bad. I'm a businessman, you're a businessman. Now, this is where I'm coming back to what, the money about Farouk, allegation of, the money about Farouk, how Dangote actually painted it being, he
said he was living above his means. He's a civil servant, but that he's living above his means.
That's exactly what I was looking for. That was why I actually said if it smells like a rat, because, I mean, there's a lot to actually explain to the people.
But he's been in this industry for years. You don't think he would have saved up enough money to be able to train his children abroad?
So I also know that...
Over a decade.
I also know that Dangote is a very learned man. So if we do the math, right, how much is he, taking home per month? And let's look at how long he spent in the industry and then calculate everything. If it's up to, that particular amount per child, then we'll come to, a reasonable conclusion
so
to do this matter.
The thing is, we can't even come to a conclusion now because the investigation is on the way.
Yeah.
So we keep our fingers crossed to see how that one pans out. But there are more reactions. Netizens are coming at this from different angles. So we'll take you back to X now. So this is Honorable Red Pen, and it says, if not for the Dangote refinery and how it disrupted the oil mafia, Nigerians would be buying fuel at 2,000 naira per litre. Now, if you could just hold this a little bit and then we'll come back to it. Okay, Chico, let's talk about the oil mafia Honorable Red Pen talked about. Yeah. In a televised interview a while ago, Dangote said the oil industry in Nigeria is even worse than the drug cartel. He said that's how bad it is.
So, again, you also need to understand that for every society, there are certain areas that are, no-go area when it comes to business because of the persons who are actually running that particular space. For example, in Nigeria, it is the oil and gas. It is where a lot of persons are so concentrated because our agricultural space is not as huge when it comes to turnover as, this particular space. And of course, it's also interesting to know that I think the federal government owns about 20% of Dangote's refinery when it comes to shares. So it also means that there's huge interest, national interest in Dangote refinery. And when the refinery was coming on board, there's a lot of, talks about, of course, in this, in his remarks, we just listened to where he was talking about the substandard, and you recall that I think it was last year. Dangote also had a press conference where he actually displayed, his
products.
Yeah, it was clean. He was talking
like
about
water.
That was like a rebuttal to this particular. So the battle has been on. Now this is Dangote's time. He's settled now. The refinery is up and running. It's his own time to now start asking questions. Mr. Farouk, okay, come and explain to us. You've been in this industry for this time, and they've calculated these books. How are you able to actually meet up on, on all of these things?
So one of the things you talked about was shares.
Yes.
We're going to get to that because, of course, netizens are bringing this up as well. And there's some news which is fresh regarding that one. So is it just going to be 20% of the Nigerian populace that will own shares in Dangote refinery? Or is it going to be something that's going to be spread across board? Yeah, just let's wait and see. We are getting to that part. But we'll continue to see how netizens are reacting to this hashtag Dangote versus Farouk. Lerio Layinka, you know him, right? He is Nyesom Wike's spokesperson, says, marketers want to keep importing petrol. Dangote wants importation to stop. Instead of accusing Dangote of wanting to create a monopoly, why can't they also join hands to build one refinery to compete with Dangote? I guess that's what you were talking about earlier on. There are more reactions. Let's continue to take a look at them. So Hama says Dangote is out for war with the importers. He said he won't give up. At the end, we the consumers will benefit from this war. So this is also an angle netizens are towing, that the Nigerian populace will benefit from this war.
So you look at countries like China, a country like Taiwan, where these guys are the countries where you want to mention rice production. These guys have huge turnover. They are like at the apex of it. These countries didn't ban rice importation. They know that if you import rice, you're going to suffer technically, right? So this is what this Dangote refinery actually represents at this point. And for me, I don't want the government to stop importation of fuel. Let's see coming.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
Once upon a time, Nigerians were saying, how can we be an oil-producing nation and then we keep importing fuel from outside the country? And you're saying you want that to continue?
For the market.
I'm trying to wrap my head around it.
Yeah, for the market, right? Now, if Dangote remains our only option, Dangote can wake up also to increase price. It's dangerous. That's why I'm so glad that boys are so, trying to come on board. Yeah,
but that doesn't it doesn't mean it would engender healthy competition in the country.
See,
and so my grouse is, how about, say, let there be competition within local refineries in Nigeria, and then Nigeria will stop importing fuel from outside the country?
So as it stands right now, how many local refineries do we have? Dangote is the only one that is viable at this point. So before now, the makeshift we had was the oil marketers. We don't have to push them aside.
Yeah, but you have 4 moribund national refineries.
It's that you use the word moribund.
Yeah.
So more like.
So why are Nigerians not looking into it? So monies have been sunk into this, right?
They should just stop sinking money. Dangote is enough. So what I expect us to do at this point is allow these guys to continue to bring in their fuel. Now the interesting side is this. Now if they continue to bring in their fuel at a cheaper price, Dangote will also be forced to calm down. It is the market, demand and supply.
But the thing is, these marketers who are importing fuel from outside the country are selling at a higher price. It is Dangote that keeps cutting the price.
That's why nobody's going to buy from them.
Yeah, but that's the thing. So the thing is, what you're saying might happen if Dangote is allowed to be the only one selling fuel. It's not even what's happening. So the oil marketers are importing fuel, but the price is higher. But Dangote, who is refinery in Nigeria, is selling at a very low price.
So good. Now, let's say you own chains of fuel stations across the country. Yeah. Oil marketers are bringing and selling to you at 140. Dangote is refining locally and selling to you at 90. Who will you buy from?
Well, let's wait till we get to that.
No, who
because I've not even thought about it.
That's exactly what's going to happen. So allow them to bring it. Perhaps they'll use bread to eat their fuel in the end if they continue to sell it expensive.
Well, I think it's okay if Nigeria is able to produce and refine her fuel without importation. I really think it's an emancipation kind of thing.
But until we have competing refineries that are stable, let these guys be the competition that Dangote will see.
Well, that's what you think. Let's move on. If netizens are thinking along the same line, more reactions to hashtag Dangote versus Farouk. So, of course, there is a cartoon now. I mean, trust netizens to come up with stuff like this. So, XPDK says, Dangote accusing Mr. Farouk of the $5 million spent on his kids' school at Switzerland for a civil servant need to be investigated. But can the government be relied on to investigate and prosecute the offender when corruption has become the order of the day, even among the prosecutors? Now, so can we just leave this on the screen so that the viewer will just feast on it while Ikechukwu and I talk about it? So this netizen is saying that, fine, these allegations have been brought up. Can we trust the authorities that be to really, really carry out an investigation?
So if the authorities, if the people who will be carrying out the investigations are not people who have actually gained from the scheme, if it turns out to be true, because we're obviously looking at, hypothetical situation that what Dangote actually alleged is actually true. Let's say it is. And then, the people who are expected to actually the House Committee on Downstream and Upstream, who definitely first look at, the man himself, and then the ICPC and the FCC, who definitely jump on it as well. If every of them, because it's going to be a very, this sort of money, the $5 million that Dangote is actually accusing this man, Mr. Farouk, of spending on his kids, it's actually a tip of the entire money. Because if you can spend $5 million on your children, it means you've got millions of dollars, even billion or $1 billion perhaps, because of course, school fees is just a fraction of the entire thing that you have. So now, we are looking at a case, and if that is the case, then it means that this is not the sort of money one person can actually eat alone. It means, it means that there are people, National Assembly members or even people in the EFCC or ICPC or even amongst the police. It could be a long chain of people who actually have gained from this particular proceed of corruption. So it's going to be a long group. So the people who will definitely be the ones that will, bring Mr. Farouk to book must be people that are very, very clean. If they are not clean,
response means is there are a number of people who have no confidence in the authorities that be to push this case to a logical conclusion.
True.
I mean, so that, basically, that's the impression I get from this. But there are more reactions. Let's take a look at the next one now as we begin to wrap this up. We are winding down this hashtag now. Bolaji says, call it anything. Dangote is still the most economically valuable individual in Nigeria. He drives almost 17% of our GDP. That would be the gross domestic product. And then Bolaji goes on to say that if anything happens to him, many things will happen to us as a nation. He must be protected at all costs, and it must be our collective responsibilities. The next one. Now, Bibi says Otedola sacked Farouk Lawan. Dangote sacked Farouk Ahmed. One Farouk per billionaire. You trust netizens to do stuff like you remember the
the man who stuffed dollar,
the Farouk Lawan,
House of Rep member
Farouk Lawan versus Otedola.
Yeah, and maybe Otedola just told Dangote, be very careful of Farouk.
Well, I don't know because this is actually this is crazy. But talking about Otedola, there was a statement he put up in October when his friend, they're very good friends, Otedola, who is also a billionaire. He's very good friends with Dangote. He's been with him all the while since he began building his refinery. You see him go there, you know, and all. So when Dangote held a press conference and announced that he was going to expand his refinery to make it the biggest in the world, Otedola was sitting right beside him. And that happened in October this year. And then Otedola put up this statement. Let's take a look at it, shall we? Still hashtag Dangote versus Farouk. So Femi Ote says, my brother and Africa's pride at Aliko Dangote addressed the World Press Conference in Lagos, where he unveiled the expansion of the Dangote Petroleum Refinery to 1.4 million barrels per day from 650,000 barrels per day. This makes it the largest refinery ever built in the world. The announcement also included increased polypropylene output from 900,000 to 2.4 million metric tons annually, and new capacities in linear, alkyl, benzene, and base oils. Aliko's relentless commitment to investing in Nigeria and Africa will outlive him, as these are legacy investments that will define generations. Soon, Nigerians will own part of the refinery, a powerful reminder that this vision is not just for Dangote, but for all Nigerians and Africans. We also thank President at official ABAT for his continued encouragement as the private sector drives forward the renewed hope mandate to build a stronger, self-reliant Nigeria. So it looks like the private sector too is standing on the mandate of the president. But hey, Femi Otedola said now the refinery, Dangote refinery, will become something that is owned by all Nigerians. It sounded like gibberish when he said it. But Dangote just dropped, should I say, a confirmation of what he was saying. Take a look at the next post now to see what Dangote is saying. So African Hub is reporting this, and it says, Aliko Dangote announced plans to list his $20 billion oil refinery on the stock market to enable widespread ownership. The listing aims to allow every Nigerian to become a direct owner of the refinery, emphasizing its status as a legacy project. Dangote expressed that there will be no purchasing limits for shares, allowing investors significant participation in ownership. The refinery seeks to pay dividends in US dollars to benefit both local and diaspora Nigerians. So if I want to buy shares to become one of the owners of Dangote refinery, I can, you can, everybody can.
Absolutely, it's actually a very good thing.
It's good.
Of course, it's definitely, I know that him saying that there's actually no limits to the kind of shares you can buy. I mean, I also want to believe that he being the owner and the CEO of the Dangote Group will definitely cap it at certain levels so that he's going to still remain a CEO and take key decisions for the refinery. But I mean, in all, it's actually a very good one. I mean, we've not had this sort of projects in Africa. So I mean, starting in Nigeria, particularly in a particular space where Nigeria has really, really struggled over the years, which is the oil and gas sector. I think it's a very good one for us. But then the work has just begun because 650 to 1.4, it's so huge. Before now, we were talking about 650 being, even with all of the refineries that we have, plus the Boa and Co, they still will not match Dangote monopoly. Now he's doubled the size. I don't know where this is headed, but then one part of me is so happy that we're having this big refinery. On that side is saying monopoly has come to stay.
Well, this thing about monopoly, I don't know. I'm not thinking about it. Yeah, so I'm just glad this thing is playing out the way it is. But let's hope. Because I'm in business. Well, maybe. Let's hope that, the oil industry continues to be deregulated and more players will come in. Like Ikechukwu said earlier on, Boa is looking to also build his own refinery. And like one of the netizens says, it will just spark a healthy competition between Dangote and Boa, who are already competing in other sectors. I mean, Boa makes sugar, Dangote makes sugar, Boa makes cement, So, hey, let's see how that pans out. We move on now to the next hashtag, which is hashtag Senate confirms Reno. So, against all odds, Reno Omokri has become an ambassador, mind you, a non-career ambassador. He himself said this appointment, nomination first by the president and then confirmation by the Senate, shows him that really forgiveness is for real. He said President Tinubu has shown him what forgiveness is all about. He also said the Senate, all those that screened him and that have confirmed him, have shown him what forgiveness is all about. Why are we talking about this? Reno Omokri, who is an influencer and former presidential spokesperson, was one very vocal critic of President Tinubu before he became president. He called him drug lord. He called him all sorts of things, said he didn't graduate from the university abroad that he said he did, and all of that. But all of a sudden, he made a 360 and became President Tinubu's #1 cheerleader. So he's now an ambassador. We have a post. Let me take you to X, so we'll take a look at the post and the reactions. There's also a video to boot. So keep your fingers crossed. Imran Mohammed says, the Senate today confirmed the nomination of Reno Omokri, a former presidential aide, as a non-career ambassador. Wow. Congratulations are in order. But what do netizens think about this? Let's take a look at the reactions. So, Mega Mixer says, confirming a former presidential aide whose public record is defined by digital pugilism raises questions about the message Nigeria sends to the global community. Diplomacy is built on nuance, not the aggressive posturing characteristic of social media influence. Wow. Mega Mixer again says, Nigeria's diplomatic core requires stability and poise. By clearing Reno Omokri without rigorous questioning on his prior volatile rhetoric, the Senate has prioritized political accommodation over the institutional integrity of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Mega Mixer again says the Senate's confirmation of Reno Omokri as a non-career ambassador signals a shift where digital advocacy is rewarded with sovereign representation. However, the use of the take-a-bow privilege for such a sensitive role avoids the necessary public scrutiny of diplomatic fitness. Let's talk about the second point before we take a look at more reactions, because there are more. Mega Mixer says that Nigeria's diplomatic corps requires stability and poise. He also talked about the integrity of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. There are lots of ambassadors in the Foreign Affairs Ministry that are not happy about what has played out regarding this nomination, because they said there are people waiting in line that were not nominated. So there is chatter that there is unrest in that ministry as well.
Well, when it comes to this sort of appointments, it's definitely going to, especially for someone who is not a career diplomat, it's definitely going to really upset the stage. People definitely look, people will be disgruntled, but hey, what can they do? I remember when the late PMB actually appointed his friend that was actually called the Netanyahu of Custom. I'm talking about Muhammad Ali, who held the Nigerian Custom, being a former military officer. I mean, a lot of custom officers were very, very, angry about it. But then in the end, it's all about, the president, it's his prerogative. Now, let's talk about the man, Reno Omokri. This sort of, appointment can be, for me, I view it in two places. The first is the fact that the president has really shown that he's a politician. Politicians look beyond your rhetorics. Politicians look beyond what you've done in the past. What they actually look after is your value, your political value, how much of, the value you bring to their team when they want to actually win an election. And Reno has shown that he can really fight dirty, and that's what politicians would definitely look out for. And, this is exactly what Reno did. But on the other hand now, this is going to encourage a lot of persons to actually tell the Reno party they definitely want to get rewarded for stuff like this. It's dangerous precedent. It's going to really set us, 10, 15 years back, because a lot of persons will definitely want to do certain very funny things to actually get the eye of, the big political figures so that they get rewarded. Again, it's definitely going to also set the standard for our diplomatic corps, very, very low. Yeah. Because, of course, there are certain training they go through, there are certain things that they do, and then you just bring in someone because of the clouds they are able to actually pull on social media. It's not a very a friendly thing or friendly space to actually be in such an environment. Now, for a man like Reno Omokri, the good side of all of this for me now is that with Reno Omokri being a Nigerian ambassador now, come 2027 election, will he also tool and spill the same rhetorics? These are the big questions we'll be asking ourselves, because now at that point he's not serving as an APC or the president's laundryman now. He's actually serving as the Nigerian ambassador. He's being paid with our taxpayers' money, not the president's or not the APC or whoever it is that he's actually working for at this point. So he's going to actually serve for Nigerians. So such statements like the one he actually spewed in 2023 will be out of his league as a person at this point. So the big
wouldn't be becoming for an ambassador is what you're saying.
So
fingers crossed to see how Reno is going to conduct himself in 2027.
Right.
But there are more reactions. I want for us to continue to take a look at them. Let me take you back to X. It is hashtag Senate confirms Reno. More reactions to this. And like I told you earlier on, someone actually put up a video. Wow, that's it. We're there already. So Nze Undi Anambra says, Tinubu nominated him without answering this question. Till today, this question remains unanswered. And then he put up this video. Take a listen.
Are you a heroin drug lord? Because we don't want a Pablo Escobar kind of president. We don't want Nigeria to be reduced to Colombia. We already have enough problems with insecurity. We don't want drug cartels now fighting over. We don't want anybody to make our president vulnerable. These are questions. Yes or no, Bola Tinubu, were you a drug lord? Just yes or no. Thank you for watching. Yes or no, are you a drug lord? That's all I want to know.
There you go. Ikechukwu, what did you make of that video?
Well, I mean, there's really not a lot to actually make of it, because he just actually posed a question asking, the president
to say yes or no.
Yes. Were you a drug lord? Yes or no? How on earth is he expected to answer that kind of question?
Well, this netizen is saying that the president went on to appoint the same person that was asking him this question without answering that question. So apparently some Nigerians were waiting for him to answer that question.
That's why I said he's a politician.
Well, let's see. One more reaction to hashtag Senate confirms Reno Omokri, and then we move on to hashtag Chris Ngige. So Rivers Trending says, yes, because what the world really needs is another former aide tweeting from an embassy. Diplomacy, optional. Drama and clout, mandatory. Nigeria's foreign policy really leveled up. And then he lets it drag. And then it ends with in entertainment. This is what you were talking about earlier on, yeah? So, Crew Ball, gosh, that's a mouthful, says, the man he called the most despicable names gave him a job and he grabbed it with hands and legs. You simply cannot make this stuff up, yeah? You can't make it up. But then again, there are deep thinkers who can actually make this up. But that's how we wrap up hashtag Senate confirms Reno. Let's see how he carries on in this office. He just might surprise Nigerians or netizens. Who knows? Or he just might play true to character. Who knows? Now, let's move on to the next hashtag, hashtag Chris Ngige. It's one of the hashtags we've been following. After 7 days in prison, former Anambra State Governor, former Labour Minister, Chris Ngige, has been granted bail and he's out of prison. And netizens are reacting. And then Yaya Bello's name keeps coming up. I was asking Ikechukwu just yesterday, will they ever have a conversation along these lines with them without netizens bringing up the name of former Kogi State Governor Yaya Bello? But hey, so I don't get you confused, let's take a look at the first page poster or post that announces Ngige's bail. Instablog Niger says court grants Ngige bail over 2.2 billion naira fraud allegations. And FCT High Court has approved bail on liberal terms for Chris Ngige, former Minister of Labour and Employment, who faces charges of money laundering and abuse of office. Before I take a look at the reactions, Kejiko, note that this amount, 2.2 billion naira fraud allegations, is because he has been accused of improperly awarding contracts to his associates while he was in office. Yeah. Right? So let's see how netizens are reacting, shall we? Hashtag Chris Ngige. Sir King says, make them release my Pella for me. Are you kidding me? Pella being TikTok very popular influencer who the police arrested yesterday for reckless driving and an attempted suicide. Adebanji says, corruption will continue to thrive in our country until we change our tribal mindset. When Ngige was yet to be granted bail, many people kept asking, why is Yahaya Bello walking free, even though they fully knew that Yahaya Bello was effectively in custody for almost 3 weeks before he was eventually granted bail. I kept telling them that Ngige would also be granted bail once he perfected his bail conditions. But instead of listening, some people chose to push tribal narratives, twisting facts to suit their sentiments. This is exactly why corruption survives in Nigeria. We defend or condemn people not based on truth or justice, but based on tribe, political party, or personal bias. Until we learn to judge issues objectively and hold everyone to the same standard, nothing will truly change. More reactions? Let's take a look at them. So, Adebanji again says, is this the same thing? Oh, it's the same thing. Let's take a look. Is this same? Does this look the same to you? Yeah. So this is the next one. Brights Digital says, them never prosecute and finish. Them don't quick grant and bail. When they know they will go away with whatever corrupt practice they do, how will they stop? This Niger matter tire person. There's another one. Let's take a look at it. All right, I understand that's all. Yeah, but it looks like netizens have lost confidence, you know, in the powers that be or the authorities that are supposed to try this case of corruption. And then, like I said, they keep bringing up, you know, the name of former Kogi State Governor Yahaya Bello.
Yahaya Bello is a poster boy.
That's what you said yesterday.
But yeah, before I even go into what, you know, A was actually talking about, when the Dangote and Farouk incident started, the first thing that came into my mind, thank God they are both Northerners. This story will be followed with logic and without any sort of emotion.
No tribal sentiments.
Because Nigeria is so tribalized, the atmosphere is so tense with, you know, tribal politics or tribal reasoning. So whenever a case comes up, there's always a case to refer to. What about this person? What about that person? So that was why when the Farouk and Dangote incident started, I said, okay, good. Nobody's going to throw tribal lines. Let's follow this to logical conclusion. Farouk, whatever money Dangote claimed he has actually, you know, gained or enjoyed from as proceeds from whatever corruption is alleging that he actually is a part of, Dangote has also got that sort of money. So if it's about throwing money around to actually influence, you know, the result of what's going to happen, they both have the money, right? If it's about clout and, you know, position in society, they're both big. It's going to be an interesting all-fair war. And Nigerians will just sit down and watch as it goes. In the end, we'll get the very best out of it. Now back to the case of, you know, Chris Ngige. I always condemn EFCC and, you know, in fact, our security agencies and, you know, agencies that go after people when it comes to corruption. Do your due diligence first. You don't arrest and start, you know, investigate. This is exactly why you see them. They go to, you know, pick up somebody. After 2 weeks, 3 weeks, they release the person, and then they never get to arrest the person again. Because this is exactly what they do. But if you've ironed out everything that you want to do, there's no way when the person comes, this person, you know, sees whatever it is that is in front of him. If the option you have for the person is plea bargain, bring back what you've done. In the case of Ngige, I mean, it's even good that it's not even embezzlement. It's been charged for. It's misappropriation of contract, misappropriation of funds, whatever it is you want to call it, which means he didn't actually take the money. He actually, you know, gave the money in a very wrong means, which means he didn't actually keep the money. You want to say there's a kickback, the sort of kickback, that's how he actually did that. But that's the case for now, right? But then, if you have all of these facts, bring the young man, serve him paper, take him to court. Let the court, prosecute him, and then deliver the case. Is a high-profile citizen, so it's expected that you arrest him, you take him to court, take his passport, let him go home. All these dramas, all these media talks, you don't even need it. In the end, if he's found guilty, if it's 20 years, let him go serve. But because we've always told through the line, look at Yahya Bello. You want to say Yahya Bello did this, there's no development in the states all these 3 years, contrast this, contrast that. But of course, you don't even have, the legal grounds to actually prosecute him or even, charge him to court or send him to jail. That's why he came out, still telling his House of Representatives members to just sign it. And that's exactly what Nigerians keep remembering.
You keep referring to this, but in case the viewer doesn't know what Ikechukwu is talking about, some months ago we saw the former governor of Kogi State, Yahya Bello, talking to a number of lawmakers in the state, talking about lawmakers.
His children, they sat on the ground.
Not his children. Lawmakers in Kogi State House of Assembly, and he was saying he was pulling his ears like this. There was a video, we showed it here. Anything Governor Usman Ododo, who happens to be his protege, gives to you, just pass it. Right, so that's what Ikechukwu is referring to. But I want for us to talk a little bit about Chris Ngige, who was governor. He didn't face any kind of probe until he became a minister under Buhari. And we had the hashtag yesterday where someone talked about Buhari's boys being under fire now. And Buhari had told them that, look, you guys watch out, this thing is going to happen. But let's talk about Chris Ngige a little bit. Why do you think he's really under fire? Is it truly a witch hunt? Or do you think the anti-graft agency really is just doing their job without bias?
So, I always say something that I'm not one of those persons who say there's a witch hunt without, facts. If the EFCC have a case that he actually did what they said he did, where's the ground for witch hunt? Yes, you can say, okay, this other person, committed a similar crime, but why did you commit the crime first? Right? You offend me, I decide to forgive you. Someone else offend me, I decide to go after the person. It's not witch hunt. The person did offend me.
Yeah, but in this case, investigation is still ongoing.
That's why I'm angry.
So we don't know if he's guilty as charged.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm angry. You don't go, arrest someone when the investigation is still ongoing. Complete your investigation and then go after him. This will save us a lot of taxpayers' money. You just take the person to court seamlessly. That's how it is done.
Yeah.
You don't stress. You arrest him, keep him somewhere, and start going after document and concluding investigation. It doesn't even make sense.
All right. So you're saying what should be done is proper investigation.
Exactly.
And when the person is guilty, then you can arrest.
Once you see compelling evidence that there's no way these guys can actually escape this thing, serve the person paper to come to the court. He's going to face trial. After that, and it's simple.
All right, so one of the responses that caught my attention was the very first one. The netizen that responded says, please release our Pella for us.
Nigerians are funny.
Yeah, no, but the thing is, there's actually an hashtag. It is hashtag I stand with Pella. We're not treating that hashtag today because it's still building. We'll probably do it tomorrow. But I'm thinking let's scratch the surface a little bit. Some netizens are saying, I stand with Pella. His girlfriend, who just broke up with him, which led to him attempting suicide and driving recklessly along the Lekki-Ajah road. Jarvis had come out to say yesterday that, look, Nigerians, stop mocking us. She's now saying us, she and Pella. Even though she said she was not going to go back to Pella, but she's saying this is when Pella should be treated with kid gloves and given all the support he needs. The police has arrested him. He's in police custody for driving recklessly. Do you think like some netizens are drumming it up right now? We are going to do this hashtag fully tomorrow. But hey, do you think like I stand with the Pella hashtag is advocating he should be released? If he's released, should he be taken to a correctional center or a mental home where he's treated, or taken to his family members so that they can take good care of him? What do you think should be done with Pella? Because it looks like his fans are calling for his release.
Well, I mean, unfortunately, Pella is a big man now. I mean, yeah. he's got a lot of money. So
he's a young big man.
Yeah, he's a young big man. So this thing happened to a lot of persons. I mean, people have actually gone through this particular phase in their life. Heartbreak is not, breakup in this particular early stage of your life. It's actually not something that persons actually deal with very well. Maybe he understands he's a public figure, or no, he's aware he's a public figure, but he doesn't understand, the value of what a public figure means. That anything you do can actually, become some sort of direction to people. People around this age bracket definitely want to commit suicide when they actually get this, heartbreak. It's dangerous, right? But it is what the truth is, because people actually follow, people they see as models. But now, in this case, he's still very much a young man. I think when he gets, medically okay, I'm talking about physically now, I think, he should actually see a counselor. Then, even if it's community service, I strongly believe that he should actually be punished, so that people will understand that, I think he should be punished. Even if it's community service, he should do it, so that when he eventually finish, people who actually are going through this will not contemplate suicide. Yeah. It doesn't actually make sense.
But let's talk about it a little bit. You do remember once upon a time when singer Portable was acting weird, and...
He didn't try to kill himself.
He did not try to kill himself, but people started calling that his family should intervene. And at some point, it looked like family members intervened. Do you think Pella really should be monitored or supervised? You know the foreign singer Britney Spears, even till now, she's been supervised by her father and family members because of some weird behaviors, even though people like the Kardashians are saying, no, give her freedom. But do you think Pella, being as young as he is, really needs strong parental guidance at the moment?
True. I think it was 2 months ago, a video surfaced online where he actually bought a car for his mom. So again, unfortunately in a society, we now worship money. So when a child is actually this rich, there's a limit of scolding he can actually get. That's what the reality is.
This is not even about scolding.
No, because when you try to talk to the child, if the child gets angry, you can actually pull the plug and, you go roast in our local parlance. But then, yes, truly, he needs to actually, family members really need to rally around. Again, it's not just about family members rallying around. It's the voice of the one who is actually able or capable to actually call him to order, tell him this is not how you actually do. This is what you need to do going forward, that he will listen, because everyone has that person they listen to.
All right.
So I think that person should come very close to Pella at this moment.
That's a safe place for us to land. Thanks to everyone who contributed to making the show a success. Be sure to catch hashtag I Stand With Pella here, same time, same station, and the same platform. Bigger thanks goes to you guys for watching. Yeah, if you liked it, keep a date with Ikechukwu and I for another edition of Hashtags. Until then, I am Vivian Uguche, and bye for now.
The red carpets, awards, the razzmatazz, music, fashion, interviews, and more. Spotlight on Voice of the People Television. Let's feed you with all the juicy stories in the global entertainment space, bringing you the glitz and glamour as it is hot. Stay tuned to Spotlight, 1 p.m. Monday to Friday. Spotlight on VOP TV. Entertainment like never before.
We encourage you to click on the like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are Voice of the People TV. Also follow us on all our social media platforms. We are at VOP TV Live. Visit our website www.vop.ng for fresh and trending news. Also watch us live on SLTV channel 264. VOP TV, Voice of the People Television.
In a world where power shifts with every headlines, news breaks and events happens, we bring you unbiased and explicit information on politics, economy, and state of the nation. We break down the chaos. Facts, not fluff. Truth, not a spin. We discuss not just politics, but a glimpse into the future. Voice of the People Television. Now you have more than a voice.
Are you ready for the extraordinary? Something big is happening on your screen. Introducing VOP TV. Now streaming on SLTV channel 264. From breaking news to captivating conversations, news analysis, giving you all sides to the story. We break in-depth discussions on the issues that matter, from politics to sports, entertainment, and lifestyle. VOP TV on SLTV channel 264. Join us as we redefine what television means to you. Voice of the People Television, VOP TV. Now you have more than a voice.